What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I can't believe we're actually doing this. It's funny because of the last video, but here we are. Stu Macher or Matthew Lillard is returning in Scream 7. Now, again, not on the bingo board. However, when Roman was announced, or, a Scott, if you want to call him by their acting name, I guess there was belief out there, right, that this was the start to something else. So it's ironic because only a couple hours have passed my time, but a lot seemingly has happened. So number one, Matthew Lillard is coming back. Number two, and I want to stay on him, for a good amount of this video. However, Emma Roberts, I really think is next. There's people just outright saying it, and at this point, I should probably believe it. But also, I think she's following Kevin Williamson. I think she's liking tweets. I think she liked the tweet of the first day of filming. So it's like odd that you had two killers just come back, and now she is like buddy, and normally when this stuff happens, you can go back to Scream 5, Scream 6, when accounts start to follow each other, when there's likes, when there's certain comments, that means something is coming, right? So at this point, could you really get all of them back? Like, is that what you're gonna go for, like a clean sweep? Or are you only targeting certain ones, right? We just talked about in the last video, if you want to do like relations to Sydney, right? Like, you have Roman being a half brother, you have Emma Roberts as Jill, right? Like there's literally family connections there. There is not one, with Stu, right? But it's like, so now I guess getting him, it does a lot, but also just getting him, okay, now it separates the idea of, it actually stops several things, right? It's why we kind of have to talk about specifically Stu and Matthew Lillard. So the idea that I had in the last video, right, was more about a connection point, an origin point of why these things are happening. Is it possible? I think it can be, because you still have to have reasons for these killers to do things, and if it connects all the way back to the beginning, that's possible. However, I guess I would say this still is probably part of that plan, because, well, why are there multiple of these people coming back? Well, I think the popular theory that's starting to form is AI. Something like a kind of enhanced Scream 3 voice changer. Now, I don't know. That's going to be really interesting to me, right? Because it's like now you have the voice, but you also have the face. And is there something a little strange? Again, I don't know if this will end up working, if it'll end up just kind of being corny. The more I think about it, the more I think that it's pretty cool, but it could just be like dangling the keys. I gotta figure out where I'm at, in my headspace, because I want to be excited, and I'm going to be excited. Okay, I'm not gonna let people, tell me, what to do in terms of excitement, but they could very well just be saying, hey, remember all these killers? Remember all these really cool people and characters in these movies? We're bringing them all back, and that is a way of enticing people. And then if you don't do it justice, if you don't meet the expectations, you can end up failing more than you would have if you didn't do it, right? So I have to keep that in mind. I'm just kind of saying that out loud. But in terms of like AI stuff, so I imagine it has to be like, you can't do AI in person, right? So like when I think about Matthew Lillard and Scott Foley, and if they get Emma Roberts, I feel like it's gotta be like a phone call, right? But video call. This is actually where I would agree with that earlier thing we talked about, where because you're announcing these people, I don't think they are quick 10-second cameos. Like I agree with the side that's saying that. So the thing is, right, if you get a call and it's just Matthew Lillard's voice, okay, I still think that's actually quite cool, and you're bringing back Scream 3's thing, but it's like, well, you have already done that, in a way. And then also, would you announce it? See, I actually then would take the other side and say, just don't say it. If you had the movie come out and you get a call, Sydney gets a call, and it's literally Matthew freaking Lillard talking to her, like that would be wild. And that's something I don't even want that announced. I think it actually would be more impactful. But, okay, ultimately, we don't live in the perfect world. We live in a world where they announced it. All right, well, why would they announce it then? Well, the way of enhancing that using AI, using, like a modified version of Scream 3 is visually doing it, right? Now, again, the reason I bring it up and talk about, is it going to be weird? So if the gimmick is AI, right? If that's like what it is, which, by the way, is actually very timely and still works, and I think just lines up. But then it's like, well, you're using the real life people. So like it's going to be the greatest AI you've ever seen because it's actually them. Unless it's like a de-aged version, or maybe it's not a de-aged version. Maybe it's literally, hey, here's how they look like now. And maybe the killer's trying to like place this seed of doubts and torture Sydney where it's like these people are still alive. Number one, I think that's a really cool idea. And the more I think about it, the more I'm actually into it. But number two, that you could keep them, as the current, 50 odd age, whatever the age of these people are, in the given time. So I just feel it's cool, but at the same time, if the gimmick is using AI, but you're actually using the real people, maybe that's like nitpicking too hard, right? Because it's like, well, it actually is them. In the movie, you can say that was just a really good like deep fake, right? Like we really got you, Sydney, this time. And it's like, well, I mean, it's because it actually was them. But I like the idea. I mean, at this point, it just depends on like how many you do and how many you think is kind of worth doing, right? So we have two. Like two are literally locked in. And if we're going to do this thing where she gets phone calls and she can actually see them, and again, I think seeing them is the important thing here. They're actually going to be there on screen. That's going to be wild. And now, like, can you get Emma Roberts back? I think you probably already have. So I guess you maybe have those three. Are you going to have any of the Scream 5 and 6 group? Are you going to have any of the Scream, like the remaining, I guess, 1 through 4? That would be something I wonder, because you already have Skeet, like you already have that relationship with 5 and 6, and I don't know, I feel like he would kind of be pretty easy to get, so we'll see how that goes. But very, very interesting, as I said, in the last video, and I will say I'm starting to get very excited. So we'll see if it ends up working. It could just be, at least they're trying something. Like this is definitely trying. This is definitely going for, and I think I said that with Roman coming back in like a tweet, like they are going for it. Whether or not it works, you can't fault, the trying part to it. Maybe the execution part could be a problem, but trying is not a problem here. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.